Dun it, dun it, dun 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 dun. Weebs!
Hey, what up? It's Matty. I'm painting an Allarus Terminator today from the Adeptus Custodes. So this guy I'm going to do in this sort of hybrid Solar Watch Aquilin Shields theme. So he's going to be white with gold trim, and I'm going to use purple for like his robes and his hair and stuff. And then probably just like a typical Power Axe or Custodian Power Axe theme. So with these guys, I kind of like to do the white on the models a little bit differently. And I prefer to go for sort of like a marble effect, which is kind of a weird thing to do, I guess, but it amuses me. So this guy's been primed already, but there's some areas that I kind of didn't really prime super well, so I'm just going to go over and like give all the white a good re-whitening with this Army Painter Mummy Robes paint that I've got, just to make sure that that's at least a fairly consistent white across the board. Not really looking to get it too much onto like the trim parts, because I'll eventually be covering those with gold. And while I'm doing this, I'm also going to go ahead and get this white on the robes a little bit more evenly, because I'm planning to do some purple contrast on these robes a little bit later with, I think it's shyish purple contrast? Yep, shyish purple. So since this guy was primed a pretty pale gray primer, it's already pretty white, so I don't really need to do much to get these robes and armor pieces lightened up. So I'm using a really thinned out mummy robes, and I'm kind of liking the consistency that it's going on with right now. It's not really looking too streaky or chalky, which whites often do. So I don't even think I'm gonna do a second layer of this, as it's going on really nicely. And the goal here is just to kind of even up the consistency of the parts that I plan to be white and get the shade to be a little bit more warm, I guess. And all this stuff that's going to be purple in a little bit, like the robes and the tassels and the hair, those parts I do want to also lighten up just a little bit. Seems good for that first layer of white I was doing. Okay, what next? I think next I'm gonna go and start doing some work on my purple parts. I'm gonna start out using some Citadel shyish purple contrast. So you gotta shake them up pretty well, because there's some pretty heavy pigment in them that settles in the bottom of the pot, and that heavy pigment is kind of like the whole point of contrast paints in my mind. So I want to do this now before I do my like the real work on my white parts, the armor pieces, because this stuff is super dark and really directly impacts whatever you touch it on. So if I make any mistakes and accidentally touch some purple into the white parts of the model, I'd rather be able to touch that up before I've really finished the armor there. It's harder to correct that if you've already kind of finished whatever highlighting or contrasting or colors you're working on. So I tend to go with the big dark parts of my models first. Got some purple down. I'm gonna go back to my mummy robes white. And before I forget, I'm gonna put some of that on the head here, too, which I have separate for now. Alright, now I'm going to go over the areas that I hit with the contrast earlier. You can always just do one layer of contrast if you'd like, but 2 layers tends to really help smooth the effect out a bit better, which if you're painting non-organic stuff, definitely will look better most of the time. So stuff like cloth and armor and other bits like that, generally you probably want to hit that up with your contrast paints twice. Not super thick either time. That way it doesn't come out looking too streaky or too concentrated in one particular spot. Almost forgot the shoulder pads and the little tassels down. Nope, no! I'll do this bit by hand so that the paints can dry, and then I'll have to reattach them to my base. I guess I put too much strain on that. Alright, time to let this guy dry. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna let it dry. I'm gonna get back into it. Because I remembered I got some spots I gotta touch up with white. Next up, I'm going to use Orc Blood from Army Painters. So I'm trying to avoid getting this in the darker recesses. We want to keep that really nice deep purple from the contrast. Right here I'm just trying to catch the raised bits with the edge of the brush a little bit. Not really going for a super strong effect on the hair here, because I'm going to touch that up with some other purples later for better highlights, but just a little bit. And then here, kind of want to catch everything but the recesses. This is really thinned out as well, so we're just kind of gently lightening it. In the pauldrons, again, just going super thin with it. I'm trying to now keep it away from the edges in here, so keeping like, I don't know, about 1.5 millimeters outside of the edges, so that that darker purple stays there, giving it a bit more of a color difference or transition. Okay, and then I'm gonna go over, do that really lightly again. I'm doing basically like a really thick edge highlight. I want to come in good, probably 2 millimeters or so off the edge. Now I'm going to get some Grimoire Purple from Army Painter. Alright, so with this I'm going to do a quick fine edge highlight, not coming in quite as far as I did with the Orc Blood Purple. use a little bit of Army Painter purple tone on this. And I don't want to do it super thick. Most of the point of the purple tone at this point is to just kind of help those colors that I put in earlier kind of transition a bit better. So now I'm going back into the robes and really just concentrating some of that purple wash in the recesses. It's like I need to blend the purples a little bit better in. So now I'm just dry brushing it with the same grimoire purple that I've been working with for a little bit. Last, Army Painter Mutant Hue for the purples. So I'm gonna get a little bit on the dry brush first, but this one I want to use a little bit more sparingly, more for like the parts that would catch the most light and the edges. So it looks like I could still use a little evening out of my my robe there. So I'm just gonna kind of take some of the orc blood I already had on my palette and mix it with some of the purple tone I had already on my palette, and a little extra water just to kind of thin it out. That glaze is gonna be kind of like, or that's gonna be a glaze to kind of help me blend in some of these areas. So that's gonna just go over these bits of purple to help those different shades of color kind of blend in better. What I'm trying to do is get it all over and then just kind of gently touch my finger over the parts that I just highlighted with the mutant hue, just to get a little bit more of that brighter mutant hue out from under this glaze. Okay. I think my purple's good. I'm gonna go up and touch up the white one last time, and then we're gonna start working on the white for real after all this purple is finished drying. So I keep touching up the white in between my layers of purple, and partly it's because I don't have anything else to do while I'm waiting for all that purple stuff to, fully dry and things. But it gives me the option to do small, thin, incremental fixes without having to glob on a big old drop of white paint to get the color right again. So much about painting is kind of revolving around waiting for stuff to dry, so I just kind of plan that into my painting as I'm doing it. Speaking of, though, for realsies, all that white stuff that I just put down has to dry now, because white's my next layer. So I'm taking a break for a little bit.
Hey everyone, this is Platonic D, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching our video. We do this to show everyone that your hobbies don't have to be on a professional level for you to enjoy them or share them. We strive to bring positivity to our hobbies and help everyone be more comfortable with just playing and falling into what you enjoy most. Like, comment, and subscribe and all that other jazz on our social media outlets that you can find down below in the description. Hope you join us again next time. And a big thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys help us out in a major way and we cannot thank you enough. Thanks.
What is wrong with this guy?